Oh my goodness. I'm at Harvard. Wow. To President Faust, my fellow honorants, Carl, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much, and James Rothenberg, Stephanie Wilson, Harvard faculty, with a special bow to my friend Dr. Henry Louis Gates. All of you alumni, with a special bow to the class of '88, your $150 million. And to you, members of the Harvard class of 2013, hello. I thank you so for allowing me to be part of the conclusion of this chapter of your life and the commencement of your next chapter. To say that I'm honored doesn't even begin to qualify the depth of my gratitude that really accompanies an honorary doctorate. Not too many little girls from rural Mississippi have made it all the way here to Cambridge, and I can tell you that I consider today as I sat on the stage this morning, getting tarried for you all and their tarries for myself. I consider today a defining milestone in a very long and blessed journey. My one hope today is that I can be a source of some inspiration. I'm going to address the remarks to anybody who has ever felt inferior or felt disadvantaged, felt screwed by life. This is a speech for the crowd. Actually, I was so honored. I wanted to do something that really special. I wanted to be able to have your look at under your seat, and it would be free. Free master and doctor degrees, but I see you got that covered already. I will be honest with you, I felt a lot of pressure over the past few weeks to come up with something that I could share with you that you hadn't heard before, because after all, you all went to Harvard. I did not. But then I realized that you don't have to necessarily go to Harvard to have a driven, oppressive type A personality. But it helps. And while I may not have graduated from here, and I admit that my personality is about as Harvard as they come, my television career began unexpectedly. As you heard this morning, I was in the Miss Fire Prevention Contest. That was when I was 16 years old in Nashville, Tennessee, and you had a requirement of having to have red hair in order to win up until the year that I entered. So they were doing the question and answer period because I knew I wasn't gonna win under the swimsuit competition. So during the question and answer period, the question came, "Why, young lady, what would you like to be when you grow up?" And by the time they got to me, all the good answers were gone. So I had seen Barbara Walters on Today Show that morning, so I answered, "I would like to be a journalist. I would like to tell other people's story in a way that makes a difference in their lives and the world." And soon those words were coming out of my mouth. I went, "Ooh, this is pretty good. I would like to be a journalist. I want to make a difference." Well, I was on television by the time I was 19 years old, and in 1986 I launched my own television show with a relentless determination to succeed at first. I was nervous about the competition, and then I became my own competition, raising the bar every year, pushing myself as hard as I knew. Sound familiar to anybody here? Eventually, we did make it to the top, and we stayed there for 25 years. The Oprah Winfrey Show was #1 in our time slot for 21 years, and I have to tell you, I became pretty comfortable with that level of success. But a few years ago, I decided, as you will at some point, that that is with time to recalculate, find new territory, break new ground. So I ended the show and launched OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network. The initial just worked out for me. So 1 year later, after launching OWN, nearly every media outlet had proclaimed that my new venture was a flop. Not just a flop, but a big bold flop, they call it. They can still remember the day I opened up USA Today and read the headline. Oprah was not quite standing on her own. I mean, really? USA Today? Now that's the nice newspaper. It really was the time last year, the worst period of my professional life. I was stressed and I was frustrated, and quite frankly, I was embarrassed. It was right around that time that President Faust called and asked me to speak here. And I thought, you want me to speak to Harvard graduates? What I could possibly say to Harvard graduates, some of the most successful graduates in the world, in the very moment when I had stopped succeeding? So I got off the phone with the President Faust and I went to the shower. It was either that or a bag of Oreos. So I chose the shower. It was in the shower a long time, and then I was in the shower, the words of an old hymn came to me, but may not know it. It's by and by when the morning comes. I started thinking about when the morning might come, because at that time I thought I was stuck in a hole. And the words came to me, trouble don't last always, from that hymn. This too shall pass, and I thought as I got out of the shower, I'm gonna turn this thing around and I will be better for it. So when I do, I'm going to go Harvard. I'm going to speak of the truth of it. So I'm here today to tell you I have turned that network around. And it was all because I wanted to do it by the time I got to speak to you all. So thank you so much. You don't know what motivation you were for me. Thank you. I was even prouder to share a fundamental truth that may not have learned, even as graduates of Harvard, unless you study an ancient Greek hero with Professor Nag. Professor Nag, as we were coming in this morning, said, "Please, Miss Winfrey, walk decisively." I shall work decisively. This is what I want to share. It doesn't matter how far you might stride. At some point, you're bound to stumble because if you are constantly doing what we do, raising the bar, if you constantly pushing yourself higher, the law of averages, not to mention the myth of Icarus, predicts that you will at some point fall. And when you do, I want you to know this, remember this, there's no such thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction. Now when you're down there in a hole, it looks like failure. So this past year, I had to spoon feed those words to myself. And when you're down in the hole, when that moment comes, it's really okay to feel bad for a little while. Give yourself time to mourn what you think or you may have lost, because here's the key. Learn from every mistake, because every experience, encounter, and particularly your mistakes are there to teach you and force you into being more of who you are. And then figure out what is the next right move. And the key to life is to develop an internal moral, emotional GPS that can tell you which way to go. Because now and forevermore, when you Google yourself, your search result will read Harvard 2013. And a very competitive word that really is a calling card, because I can tell you, as one who employs a lot of people, when I see Harvard, I sit up a little stranger. I said, where is he or she? It's an impressive calling card that can lead you to even more impressive bullet in the years ahead. Lawyers, senators, CEOs, scientists, physicists, winners of Nobel or Pulitzer prizes, or late-night talk show host. But the challenge of life I have found is to build a resume that doesn't simply tell a story about what you want to be, but it's a story about who you want to be. It's a resume that doesn't just tell a story about what you want to accomplish, but why. A story that's not just a collection of titles or positions, but a story that's really about your purpose. Because when you inevitably stumble and find yourself stuck in a hole, that is the story that will get you out. What is your true calling? What is your drama? What is your purpose? For me, that discovery came in 1994 when I interviewed a little girl who had decided to collect pocket change in order to help other people in need. She raised $1,000 all by herself, and I thought, well, if that little 9-year-old girl with a pocket, I wonder what I could do. So I asked for our viewers to take up their own change collection, and in 1 month, and just from pennies and nickels and dimes, we raised more than $3 million that we used to send one student from every state in the United States to college. That was in the beginning of the Angel Network. So what I did was I simply asked our viewers, do what you can, wherever you are, from wherever you sit in life. Give me your time, your talent, your money if you have it, and did it. Extend yourself in kindness to other human beings wherever you can. And together we built 55 schools in 12 different countries and restored nearly 300 homes that were devastated by the hurricanes Rita and Katrina. So the Angel Network had been on air for a long time, but it was an Angel Network that actually focused my internal TBS. It helped me to decide that I wasn't just gonna be on TV every day, but that the goal of my shows, my interviews, my business, my philanthropy, of all of this, whatever ventures I may pursue, would be to make clear that what unites us is ultimately far more redeeming or compelling than anything that separates me. Because what had become clear to me, and I want you to know that it isn't always clear in the beginning, because I had been on television since I was 19 years old, but around 94 I got really clear. So don't expect the clarity to come all at once. You to know your purpose right away. I was here on earth to use television and not be used by it. To use television to illuminate the transcendent power of our better angels. So this angel network, it didn't just change the lives of those who were helped, but the lives of those who were also did the helping. It reminded us that no matter who we are, or what we look like, or what we may believe, it is both possible and, more importantly, it becomes powerful to come together in a common purpose and common effort. I saw something on Bill Moore's show recently that still reminded me of this point. It was an interview with David and Francie Wheeler. They lost their 7-year-old son Ben in a Sandy Hook tragedy, and even though gun safety legislation to strengthen background has just been voted down in Congress at a time, and they talked about how they refuse to be discouraged. Francie said this. She said, "Our hearts are just broken, but our spirits are not." I'm going to tell them what it's like to find a conversation about change that is love. I'm going to do that without fighting them, and then her husband David added this: "You simply cannot demonize or vilify someone who doesn't agree with you, because the minute you do that, your discussion is over, and we cannot do that any longer. The problem is too enormous. There has to be some way that this darkness can be banished with light." In our political system and in the media, we often see the reflection of a country that is paralyzed, that is self-interested. And yet, I know you know the truth. We all know that we are better than the cynicism and the pessimism that is throughout Washington and the 24-hour cable news cycle. Not my channel, by the way. We understand that the vast majority of people in this country believe in stronger background checks because they realize that we can uphold the Second Amendment and also reduce the violence that is robbing us of our children. We don't have to be incompatible. And we understand that most Americans believe in a clear path to citizenship. For the 12 billion undocumented immigrants who reside in this country, because it's possible to both enforce our laws and at the same time embrace the works. On the Statue of Liberty, the generation of proto masses of ally, we can do both. And we understand, I know you do because you went to Harvard, that people from both parties or no party believe in indigenous mother and families should have access to healthy food and a roof over their head, a strong public education, because here in the richest nation on earth, we can afford a basic level of security and opportunity. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? Really? What are you going to do about it? Maybe you agree with these beliefs, maybe you care about these issues, maybe there are other challenges that you, class 2013, are passionate about. Maybe you want to make a difference by serving in government, maybe you want to launch your own television show, or maybe you just simply want to collect some change. Your parents would appreciate that about now. The point is, your generation is charged with this task of breaking through what the body politic has thus far made imperious to change. Each of you has been blessed with this enormous opportunity of attending this prestigious university. You have a chance to better your life, the life of our country. When you do that, let me tell you what I know for sure. That's when your story gets really good. Maya Angelou always says, when you learn, teach. When you get, give. That, my friends, is what gives your story purpose and meaning. So you all have the power in your own way to develop your own angel network. In doing so, your class will be armed with more tools of influence and empowerment than any other generation in history. I did it in an analog world. I was blessed with a platform that, at its height, reached nearly 20 million viewers a day. Now here in the world of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Tumblr, you can reach billions in just seconds. You're the generation that detected predictions about your detachment and your disengagement by showing up to vote in record numbers in 2008. And when the POTUS said they thought about you, you'll be too disappointed, you'll be too dejected to repeat that same kind of turnout in 2012 election, and you proved them wrong by showing up in a greater numbers. That's who you are. This generation, your generation, I know, has developed and finally earned rated for BS. Can you say BS at Harvard? The spin and the funniness and artificials that saturate so much of our national. I know you all understand better than most that real progress requires an authentic way of being, honesty, and above all, empathy. I have to say that the single most important lesson I learned in 25 years talking every single day to people was that there is a common denominator in our human experience. Most of us, I tell you, we don't want to be divided. What we want, the common denominator that I found in every single interview, is we want to be validated. We want to be understood. I have done over 35,000 interviews in my career, and as soon as that camera shuts off, everyone always turns to me and inevitably ask these questions. Was that okay? I heard it from President Bush, I heard it from President Obama, I heard it from heroes and from housewives, I've heard it from victims and perpetrator, and I even heard it from Beyonce and all of her Beyonce-ness. She finishes performing and hands me the microphone and says, was that okay? Friends and family, yours enemies, strangers in every argument, in every encounter. Every exchange, I would tell you that all want to know one thing. Was that okay? Do you hear me? Do you see me? Did what I say mean anything to you? And even though this is a college where Facebook was born, my hope is that I would try to go out and have more face-to-face conversations with people you may disagree with. And you'll have the courage to look them in the eye and hear their point of view. And help make sure that the speed and distance and anonymity of our work doesn't cause us to lose our ability to stand in somebody else's shoes and recognize all that we share as people. This is imperative for you as an individual for our success. There has to be some way that this darkness can be banished with light. Say the man whose little boy was massacred on just an ordinary Friday in December. So whether you call it soul or spirit or higher self, intelligence, I know this. There is a light inside each of you, all of us, that illuminates your very human beingness if you let it. And as a young girl from rural Mississippi, I learned long ago that being myself was much easier than pretending to be Barbara. Although when I first started, because I had Barbara in my head, I would try to sit like Barbara, I talk like Barbara, I was on the news, reading the news, and I called Canada. And that was the end of me. I cracked myself up on TV, couldn't stop laughing, and my real personality came through, and I figured out, oh gee, I can be much better Oprah than I could be a pretend Barbara. I know that you all might have a little anxiety now and hesitation about leaving, and the comfort of college and putting those Harvard credentials to the test. But no matter what challenges, setbacks, or disappointment you might encounter along the way, you will find true success and happiness if you have only one goal. There really is only one, and that is this: to fulfill the highest, most truthful expression of yourself as a human being. You want to max out your humanity by using your energy to lift yourself up, your family, and the people around you. Said it best. He said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then you go do that. Because what the world needs is people you have become alive. The world needs People like Michael Stolzenberg from Fort Lauderdale. When Michael was just 8 years old, Michael nearly died from a bacterial infection that cost him both his legs and both his feet. In an instant, this vibrant little boy became a quadruple amputee and his life was changed forever. But in losing who he once was, Michael discovered who he wanted to be. He refused to sit in that wheelchair all day and feel sorry for himself. With prosthetic, he learned to walk and run and play again. He joined a middle school lacrosse team, and last month, so many victims of Boston Marathon bombing was become the amputee. Michael decided to banish that darkness with light. Michael and his brother Harris created MikeyRun.com to raise $1 million for other amputees by the time Harris runs the 2014 Boston Marathon. More than 1,000 miles away from here, these two young brothers are bringing people together to support this Boston community the way their community came together to support Michael. And when this 13 years old man was asked about his fellow amputees, and he said this: first, they will be sad. They're losing something they will never get back. That's scary. I was scared, but they'll be okay, and they just don't know that yet. We might not always know it, we might not always see it or heard it on the news, or even feel it in our daily lives, but I have faith no matter what class of 2013, you will be okay and you will make sure your own country is okay. You have faith because of that 9-year-old girl who went out and collected the change. You have faith because of David and Freddie. I have faith because of Michael and Harris Stolzenberg. I have faith because of you, the network angels sitting here today. One of them, Khadijah William, who came to Harvard 4 years ago. Khadijah had attended 12 school in 12 years, living out of garbage bags amongst pimps and prostitutes, drug dealers, homeless, going into department stores, Walmart in the morning to bath herself so that in front of a classmate. Today, she graduates as a member of the Harvard Class 2013. From time to time, you may stumble, fall, or you will for sure count on this, no doubt. You will have the questions and you will have doubts about your path. But I know this: if you're willing to listen to, be guided by that still small voice, that is the GPS within yourself, to find out what makes you come alive, and you will be more than okay. You will be happy, you will be successful, and you will make a difference in the world. Congratulations, class 2013. Congratulations to your family and friends. Good luck, and thank you for listening. Was that okay?